I've got like 60 slides, so I'm going to see how many I can actually get through in the next 15 minutes. I'm probably going to skip a bunch and maybe just ignore some altogether. So I'll give a quick background to myself because a bunch of you might not know me. So I used to be a medical doctor, then I became a DJEN at the top of the market in 2017, lost a bunch of money, and then now full-time in DeSci for the last 3 years. And I'm going to do that super annoying thing where I ask people to put their hands up or if they recognize something on screen or not. So we'll start with one. Does anyone recognize what this is? Yes, a lithiometer. And what does a lithiometer do? It's from a book called Northern Lights. It's used to, yes, exactly. You can ask this device any question and it tells you objectively the truth. This is like something that you can use to figure out reality. And this is essentially what the process of science is. It's this distributed system, community, etc., blah, 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 designed to effectively tell you the truth. And at least in the context of science, the way we'll be defining truth here is the ability to predict the future. That means, you know, if I throw a ball to you, you can work out the equations in advance to know where that ball is exactly going to land. And there are a bunch of trust assumptions that you have to figure out whether the system is doing this thing properly. So we'll get into that in a second. So yeah, this talk is going to cover the journey into building a truth-telling machine. We're quickly going to cover trust mechanism in science. 2, what verification means, what a truth-telling device is, and 3, why is this important? Before we get into that, is anyone a subscriber to this website? Hands up. Okay, tough crowd here. We'll come back to this later. We'll come back to this later. So okay, quick look at trust mechanism science. I won't spend too long on this. So don't trust, verify. This is like the core technological underpinning of Web3. And it's disrupted multiple industries, mainly financial, by building these trustless systems. So what would this look like in science? Like, where is the trust currently being held? And to like really simplify this, just assume like I'm doing an experiment. I'm a scientist, and if you are assuming what is the trust in this entire thing as a system, you're trusting that I've done the experiment properly, trusting that I've recorded it properly, the results, you're trusting that there's some kind of screening mechanism before the information is disseminated as part of like wider institutional oversight. You're trusting that someone else replicates this to ensure that my finding wasn't a fluke, and that there's some kind of correction system making sure to remove any information which is like not true. Spoiler alert, all of these trust assumptions and mechanisms are completely broken in science. And it does not serve its ultimate goal, which is to be a system that produces reliable knowledge. Does anyone recognize this? Yeah, a couple people. So this was a picture in a paper in 2006 that talked about Alzheimer's, and they claimed they found effectively the cause of it. 18 years later, we found out that this picture had been photoshopped. So this like one person in one reputable lab had caused a massive issue in Alzheimer's, and this is the most cited paper in Alzheimer's. This redirected billions of dollars funding, caused like drugs to go into pipelines which shouldn't have had any viability. So this wasted a lot of time and money, and this was one person in one lab. And there's multiple people in Alzheimer's that have also done fraudulent research. And remember, this is just one disease in one system, and these are just the people that have been caught. Like, having worked as an academic, you have to be pretty stupid to get your fake data caught. It's very, very easy to do it in a way you wouldn't get caught. So the actual amount of fake data is huge. So some people say 1 in 7. I think it's probably higher. And fraud has many different types of faces. This is not an exhaustive list. So sometimes it's making something up from scratch, something's slightly tweaking it. Sometimes it's leaving out your last week's worth of results because it makes your month overall look a lot better. So there's many, many faces, and like at least my understanding is that it's a big, big problem in science. Who recognizes this? Or who was fooled by this? Who saw this and actually believed it? Because I believed it. I just thought maybe he's just wearing a puffer jacket and it just looks kind of cool. So, you know, AI's got to the point where it can create things that aren't just tricking like some Luddite that doesn't like interact with tech, but can kind of trick anyone. So you can probably guess where I'm going with this. It's really good at faking data. And this is an example when I gave it intentionally a very unsophisticated prompt, just fake me some data and it spews something out. And you might not be able to see at the bottom, but the auto follow-up question was, should I add some subtle noise to make it more realistic? So this is just a general model. And once you receive the data, there's nothing that can tell you it's real or fake. Like once it's in the wild, it's way too late. So this is a massive, massive problem. You've got massive amounts of fraud already, and now a tool that makes the cost of doing it impossible to detect fake essentially zero. So there is an upcoming crisis of trust in science. And kind of when we look back at the trust assumptions and mechanisms, this is the one that really we're going to be focusing on for today's talk, the process by which results are recorded accurately. And the way this works in science right now is if you are not there to witness the result, witness an experiment, you rely on someone's testimony. And you trust their testimony generally because of their credential. Humans lie, though, and that's the main problem. Humans lie all the time. And what we need to do as a system is move the trust anchor away from the human. We need to move it into the hardware. So that's what mainly I'm going to talk about here is how we digitize this process of witness testimony and securely have the ability to notarize physical reality, like build an actual machine where the results of it, you know for sure, are the truth. So this is what we'll be talking about for the next few minutes. What does this look like? So if we go back to the Pope, how would we have verified this? Inshallah, something. Find whoever took the image, correct? Anything else? Yeah, so some kind of technical stuff involving the camera it was taken, and that's kind of essentially where it goes to. So there is a standard for this. This is a coalition of big tech firms who have this mechanism that can use secure signing or not, and it provides provenance. You are probably getting some concerns with the logos there, and as you should. This kind of standard is not great. What it effectively means is we are relying on these tech companies to trust, to kind of decide who can produce an image that is verified versus who isn't. So if your camera is removed from their network, then it no longer can do the signature that proves it's valid. So there's that, and then there's a bunch of other kind of technical issues with that. There is something else that does something a lot better, much more open with some privacy-preserving mechanisms, and if anyone's interested in some of the more technical aspects, you can have a quick look at that. But moving on. So kind of thinking about it from how we would have verified this picture of a pope, we have a few learnings here. So one, it has to happen on the hardware and has to be at the point data is created. Number two, we need to focus on objective data, so anything from a sensor, something that's reading the light, something that's reading a temperature, etc. And we need some kind of secure signing mechanisms. So I'm not going to go into these, but there's a few different types of trustless execution environments, which are physically separated parts of the CPU that can do functions like this, or hardware security modules, which are an entire computer of itself. Problem here is most lab equipment doesn't have these. Newer ones do, but most of the lab equipment doesn't. So already we kind of understand that it's going to be kind of difficult to get this done in science. So this is where kind of I started. So this is a bunch of stuff that I've been working on. Me and my co-founder Erin, who's there somewhere. So we got a hold of a PCR machine. We connected it to a hardware security module, and we got it doing this kind of cryptographic signing in a very slow way. We were running like a bootleg copy of Windows XP because the hardware security module was Linux, the machine isn't. But we did a bit of a proof of concept, but it wasn't really usable. And then we went to the next step of realizing, okay, let's do another version. What hardware should we do it on? Let's do bioreactors, because bioreactors are very simple hardware. You've got something at the bottom, which is a motor that moves the magnets, and just two sensors. You've got something that senses temperature and something that senses light. So we figured this was simple enough of a hardware to add all these additional verification mechanisms. And so we did build one. I've got it right here. Oh my God. So this is our early version prototype of the first truth-telling machine in the world. And essentially, you would trust the results. The results are autonomously recorded on-chain or private, wherever you want. And what we realized with this was that even with this, there are a bunch of attack vectors. So you could snip one of the wires, add something else to it, etc. So I asked our engineers to kind of intentionally over-engineer this and see how far can we really push it. Because we've added some cryptography to it. The next step is adding physical tampering. So this is what we're currently working on, and we've got like a kind of prototype version which should be kind of working by the end of this month or kind of mid next month. Anyone here is overtly technical? There's a bunch of technical things on the screen, so please have a look. Come find me after. But kind of the general concept here I was explaining is you've got the physical cryptography, but then you need to assume that this device is going to be in a location where there may be an adversary. So you can have tamper-proof mechanisms, things like pressure sensors, which when they detect you trying to open the device, mean that the cryptography no longer works. And then kind of as a last resort, you can use things like glittered epoxy to cover things, so when someone does open it, you know it's open because they wouldn't be able to recreate the exact pattern that the glitter epoxy resin had. And this is kind of what the full unit's going to look like. It's going to be an automated unit of 24 doing a bunch of things. And kind of just more broadly, equipment's got some kind of cryptographic mechanism, plus minus tamper-proofing, and then when you're looking at the end, you can see the proof that the result you're reading is actually what the sensor measured at the time of the reading was taken. Now, to why are we doing this? What does verification unlock? And it's not just about fraud. Fraud was where kind of started with the journey of thinking, well, there are problems in science and how those could be resolved, but there's a bunch of things that it unlocks. And one of the cool things is that with this device that we've got, it doesn't matter who the operator is, because it could be somebody with a scientific degree or it could be someone's grandma. It actually doesn't matter who the operator is, because you trust the results because of the hardware, the cryptography, and the tamper-proofing, not the human and not the credential. So this is actual decentralized science, because you have democratized the ability for anyone to produce verifiable data. Now, there is a disclaimer just because there's still a bunch of attack vectors, but I will move on assuming this is true. And this is what brings us to what you guys all wanted to see. So this is like an OnlyFans. OnlyFans is a creator economy platform like YouTube, like Instagram, Spotify, that allowed anyone to be able to learn what they wanted to and kind of distribute themselves using these platforms. So you had people like Justin Bieber who became a pop star just because of YouTube. And if we've had these creator economies emerge for video, music, art, writing, code, why not science? And the reason it has emerged in science is if someone doesn't have a credential, if they're outside of an institution, you don't trust what they do. But if there was this kind of trust mechanism, then you could have this creator economy of science. So that's the first thing that it kind of unlocks, is that it unlocks an OnlyFans for science. I had a couple more points on that I actually skipped, is that some of the trends that are happening in Gen AI and 3D printing, I think in the next 3 to 5 years, you'll be able to kind of tell AI, make me a mass spec, and it'll figure out what it needs. It will do a simulated build. It will simulate where the problems went wrong. It will fabricate all the boards, tell you how to ship it, and then it will arrive to you assembled for like 5K. So I think there's going to be mass democratization of equipment. So doing like biohackers doing actual hardcore wet lab science is going to increase. The other things that it unlocks is verifiable actions for robots. So, you know, a lot of things are going to be automated. So whether this is labs or humanoid things walking around, we need to know exactly what these systems were doing at all times, not just what they were reporting to us that was done. If you've left your lab overnight for it to do a bunch of automated things and then you come back in the morning, you don't want the O3 model telling you what it did. You need to know for absolute certainty. So this is probably one of the most important things that these kind of trust mechanisms would allow you to do. There are a bunch of different applications in biosecurity, so it could be monitoring exactly what the device did, not what the operator has claimed it did. One of the concerns I have with these automated labs is that they could get hacked into, be told to produce some kind of bioterrorism, and then the hacker can kind of do this effectively by code. So guard against that. At least the first step is monitoring exactly what it's doing, and then you might be able to add physical things where if it detects a certain action is happening, it can physically destroy itself. So not blow up in a kind of an explosion, but burn its microcontrollers and things like that so the device is rendered unusable. We are doing a really cool thing tomorrow about how we would build an early warning detection system for novel pathogen emergence and why that needs this kind of verification layer. I'll talk about that probably tomorrow. On-chain prediction markets for experiments, maybe this could help drive the replication crisis. Transparent funding, so like if you had our array of these bioreactors and you wanted to donate for its funding, that the actual research is being done properly, you've got verification exactly where your money went and exactly what the output was. So this is like the other kind of thing it unlocks. And then another hands up question, who thinks due to Duma AGI scenario that the ability to gain capital will cease in like 3 to 5 years? So hands up if you think that. No one, really? Okay, we've got one person, okay. I do think there's a very doomsday scenario happening where the world's gonna be completely fucked, no one can make any money. So the thing I'm trying to build for is imagine what would AGI want to buy? And I think AGI would want these pipelines of verified data. So this is half jokingly, half completely serious. So yeah, this is just the kind of order, like second and third order effects of once you build one of these trust mechanisms. And then coming back right to the beginning when we talked about the different trust mechanisms, I'm not sure why I crossed them out actually, because they shouldn't be crossed out, but all the different trust mechanisms we can replace with different things. So how rigorously an experiment's done can be done by robotics AI. A bunch of other things can be done with AI as well. Maybe replication markets for to kind of incentivize replication, but we need this verification layer, and that's to ensure results are recorded accurately, that there was real witness testimony taking place, and the results you see are like actual physical notoriety of reality. I think that is it. I am happy to take questions. Yes, yes.
Sorry, can you wait one moment, please? We have online viewers that already.
Hello. Dope. More hardware in crypto is great. Is it expensive to manufacture? Like, are you planning to sell it like to institutions, scientific?
Not really. It's actually very cheap. So the microcontroller that we use with the TE, I think costs about $5, and the rest of the equipment's quite cheap. So imagine one unit, so kind of like this, but a lot smaller, would be about 30, 40 pounds. The cheapest one in the market's about 200, 250 pounds.
Nice. And follow-up for that, sorry. Other ones on the market, are they cryptographically secured?
No.
No, okay.
No, nothing. Great. One more at the back.
Thank you. What does the appification pipeline look like for these truth-telling machines so that I and my edge device can be truth-telling machines in this framework?
I missed the first word that you said. What was the?
Appification. Can you turn this into an app experience to use existing consumer hardware?
For pictures, yes, because all your phones can do this cryptographic signing. So anything where the input data you need to be real as a picture can. There are some elements in science, like if you're running like Western blots and things like that, in which you just use a camera. So you can do that, but like most of it is lab equipment, so most of it would need to use the sensors in the equipment. Yes.
Why would AGI be interested in this kind of data?
So why would AGI be interested?
And could we also fake that data to the AGI?
So why would AGI be interested? I think the AGI would want to know the data it is inputting is real. And like I said, it was half joke, half serious, but I do think the AGI would care about actual verifiable data because it would know that it's probably being flooded with fake data as a way to try to attack it. So whatever is the mechanism that makes it trustworthy, yes.
Thank you. With verification, do you expect that there will be multiple ways to try to verify that the specific physical systems are not hacked? So you have videos, you have, so you expect that there will be some kind of consensus eventually?
I think it would depend and differ on different types of experiments, what the likelihood is that this data could be fake, what the effect of this fake data is and the value and things like that. But really you want the person performing it to also be observed in addition to one of these systems if you want like real verification. Yes.
Are you guys, have you thought of a way to include the metadata from the system at the time that it's recording everything and like when it last was
Yes.
when the tubes were flushed and
Yeah,
all that
it
stuff.
does all
Yeah.
the metadata available.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. If anyone wants to play around with this, we'll be doing stuff during the hacking week, so you can try break the verification on it. All right. Thank you, guys.